I want to welcome everyone to the June Primo New UI question and answer period. This is a presentation by Igloo and Illuna in cooperation with Ex Libris on the implementation of the new user interface that's being within the new Primo Discovery application. The presenters that I have here are Ali from the City University of New York, Dan Moore from Oregon State, Noam Amit from Ex Libris is going to be answering questions that have been posed by the group over the last month. So that's going to basically be the content of the presentation today. I just have a few things that I want to make available for housekeeping purposes. Oops. I want to remind folks about the Open Discovery Challenge. There is a deadline on August 15th. The criteria for judging each entry is based on the added value for patrons, library, and the Primo community. And what we mean by this are different types of enhancements that have that extend the Primo framework. If there have been things like the custom actions NPM that was authored, where many people are beginning to adopt this as part of the Open Discovery framework to use as part of the their implementation of the new UI within their organization. Those types of criteria are actually being used as part of the judging. Part of it is also innovation, kind of how do you extend and what happened. Are there things that hadn't been considered in the initial launch that kind of take the Primo UI in a different direction? And then code design, basically how the new UI or how your extension can actually be used in other places. So the prizes basically are subsidizing of a ticket to the Igloo or Illuna user conferences, as well as the online learning course of your choice on learning sites such as Code Academy or Lynda. So that's one option. Second prize basically is a learning course of your choice again. And then third is a City of Books gift card, if anybody still reads books. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that the deadline is August 15, and you should be looking to that. And I hope that folks within the Primo community can actually nominate some of the code or the enhancements that they're doing. Some enhancements or just some dates for future Q&A sessions. We're going to have one in July that is going to be hosted by Igloo. There is 2 sessions in August on the 7th and the 21st, as well as October. The October session, we're actually looking to potentially think around a themed content such as linked open data or other types of innovations. So if you're working on a linked open data extension, this may be something that if you're wishing to give 5 or 10 minutes to your presentation, that's something that you can contribute to. And then December and January dates are there. Part of the reason for the August presentations is that 40% of the people who were surveyed, or institutions that were surveyed, said that they were going to be launching for the September, the month of September, or shortly around the month of September. So if there are other questions, please use the Slack channel or the Primo listserv to submit questions, because if you're asking the question, it's most likely that others are also asking the question. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ali from CUNY. And she's going to let us know about what it is that they're doing and their implementation of the central package within the new UI.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ali Verbovetskaya, and I am the Web and Mobile Systems Librarian at the City University of New York. So I would like to begin by quickly telling you about CUNY. So we are a single university. In practice, on paper, we are a consortium. We have 21 individual semi-autonomous colleges, in the sense that each one has a president, a provost. They are full-fledged colleges that are just sort of under the umbrella of the university. There are 31 libraries, and there is one central library office, and we manage the library systems for all of the libraries. And so this is important to note because our very many students are quite nomadic in nature. So students who earn their associate's degrees at the community colleges end up going to earn their bachelor's degrees within CUNY as well. Some students take summer and or winter classes at other campuses than the ones where they're actually getting their degrees. Our PhD students are also faculty, adjunct faculty at the other campuses. So there's a lot of overlap, right? Students are spending time at multiple campuses. And so we want to create a single sort of uniform library experience for them. And we are able to do that more efficiently now with the new UI, especially with the central package manager. Because it sort of lets us create a baseline environment that is then inherited by all of the views, because we do have 21 institutions within Primo with their own views. So I'll talk briefly about some of this, what we've done so far in the new UI, which will be going live for the fall semester. So by starting off, we actually sort of took away some functionality, sort of making a clean slate, so to speak. And what we've done, I'm just going to show you briefly what these changes look like for us. So we've removed the ability for users to edit their details in their accounts, just because it's actually not feasible. Students have to update this information at their campuses, and that then gets propagated to our ILS, which is then displayed in Primo. So that was done with some CSS. So basically just hiding some of these classes. Furthermore, if you have BX Recommender and you have it turned on in Primo, in the new UI, you'll notice on the right-hand side of full display PCI articles, there is now a related reading panel. And under each related reading suggestion, there is a link. Well, it's not even a link, it's just a text that says article suggested by BX. And that appears below every single suggestion. So we have gone ahead and removed that just because it sort of clutters up the screen. And I understand it's a promotional thing for Ex Libris, but our students don't quite care about this feature. So we took that away again with some CSS in the central package. So that then is inherited by everyone else. And again, in the related reading panel, there are thumbnails displayed for some of the recommended readings of the covers, and the keyword there being some, so that the thumbnail does not display for every single cover. So we, again, have just sort of hidden that because it broke up the line, right? It wasn't an easy sort of up, down, up experience of reading, of seeing these things and seeing the thumbnail. So we also hid that at the request of the librarians. So after we took away some functionality and some features, we are hoping to expand it with the central package. So Alan mentioned the custom actions package that's available, and we are playing around with that to see how we can use that for us. So we are considering adding a excuse me, report a problem functionality, which did not exist before, but it's something the librarians have been asking for quite a long time. So that would be packaged in the central package and then inherited by all of the campuses. And similarly, a text to call number functionality can also be added the same way. Because while it's possible to do this out of the box in Primo, we do not have an SMS server at CUNY, and so we cannot take advantage of that feature. So what we have done is in the Aleph OPAC right now, we've sort of hacked together a way to do that, which is basically through Perl and JavaScript. It actually sends an email to the user's phone, which is then received as a text message. So we would like to replicate that functionality in Primo. And this is just sort of an idea at this point, and it's on the horizon. I just need to, again, figure out how to replicate this in Primo. We can also expand functionality at the institutional level, not just at the central level. So for example, some of the libraries have stacks maps available. And this is a functionality they've had in the OPAC where the call number links directly to their local websites where a shelf is highlighted where the student can find the book. And so we'd like to replicate that in Primo as well. And this one is really truly only an idea at this point, but I'm thinking of embedding it into the full display. And again, just for some of the campuses that offer this feature. And similarly, Ask a Librarian is a service, the chat reference is available at some of the libraries, not all of them. So we're going to include a floating Ask a Librarian widget so that users have that at their fingertips. And that's sort of kind of it for us. I mean, we're big fans of the new UI at CUNY. It really does make it a lot easier to create that baseline environment from which we can work and create customized experiences from the libraries based on that. And as pointed out previously by Orbis Cascade, the functions that are available in the central package can be called from the institution. And so that will also help to create sort of customized experiences. And we're grateful for that and looking forward to it. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And I guess we'll take questions at the end.
Yep. Okay, Dan?
That's it.
Okay, Dan.
Hi, let me pull up my slides. Are they visible?
Yeah, you may want to turn your computer a little bit down because I think we have an echo.
How about now?
Good.
Cool. So my name's Dan Moore. I'm the Discovery Services Librarian at Orbis Cascade. I'm sorry, Oregon State University, which is a member of the Orbis Cascade Alliance.
Dan?
I'm here today on behalf of the Primo Customization Joint Working Group to talk about our work with the central package. So very briefly, who are we? We're a consortium of 39 universities and community colleges in the Pacific Northwest. We cover Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. We have 39 individual instances of Primo with some number of views per instance. Some schools obviously have more need for more views, others don't. We have 39 individual Primo sandboxes. We have one shared Alma instance with 4 Alma sandboxes. So across all of us, we have 275,000 total students, but only 10 dedicated Alliance staff. So that small number of Alliance staff has led to the necessity of this collaborative workforce, which is a driving philosophy of the Alliance. So
Dan,
the Alliance, sorry?
hold on a second. I don't think we can see your slides.
Oh. Do I need to toggle something?
Yeah, you're going to need to share your screen. Sorry about that. There we go.
Sorry about that. So there was text there. Where was I? So the small limited alliance staff led to the necessity of this collaborative workforce. So the collaborative workforce is this driving philosophy, and it requires member institutions to sort of provide people to support the alliance by serving on teams, working groups, or to serve as representatives. And each of these is controlled by different policies. They sort of have different time commitments, but generally speaking, it's 2 to like 7 hours a week, depending on what kind of team or working group you're serving on. So our Primo specific teams are listed on the screen. I've included links to those description pages, and I'll share the slideshow soon. What I hope to illustrate here is we have a large number of people. I would estimate maybe 35 to 40 total across the Alliance who exclusively look at either administering or enhancing Primo in different ways. I've also included here a recent team, the SILS post-implementation evaluation. The Orbis Cascade Alliance, I think this is accurate, was the first consortia to go live with a shared network zone. So it took about 5 years. In fact, our 39th institution only went live last Friday. So that's how long and involved this process has been. So now that they're live, we've moved into an evaluation and an assessment period to look at how we can further enhance our shared ILS. So I work with a central package. A quick timeline. Fall 2015 to spring 2016, we had something called the Primo Toolkit Working Group. And what this working group did was met to coordinate the development of what we call the Primo Toolkit, which I think most of you are aware of. This toolkit is a list of enhancements, CSS, JavaScript tweaks, meant to enhance the user experience and add new functionality to the Primo Classic UI. So summer 2016, when the new UI rolled out, we discovered that most of those toolkit items are actually not relevant anymore. The new UI obviated most of them. Early work with the new UI determined or showed that there were some issues with accessibility and usability, so the Alliance voted as a whole to wait on migrating until this summer to ensure that those accessibility issues were met or solved. So we had a year, basically. So what we did is we formed another working group, the Primo Consortial Customization Working Group, to investigate the efficacy of the central package and develop some best practices for working with the central package. The early hypothesis was that the central package could inherit what the Primo Toolkit does. So that working group resolved their work, submitted a report to the Alliance, which led to the formation of the Primo Customization Joint Working Group. Not the best names, unfortunately, it's just what we have. So the PCJWG has been meeting relatively frequently for the past few months now to develop some existing customizations for the central package and experiment with workflows to determine the best practices going forward with it. Right, so the toolkit was largely successful. The toolkit was widely adopted across the Alliance. I hope it benefited many of you listening today. But as I said, the new UI sort of obsoleted a bunch of these items. So we're looking at the legacy of this toolkit. And I think the idea now is to use it as a documentation repository for enhancements within the central package. So the virtue of the central package, of course, being that it reduces the number of clicks, really. Like you just inherit it, and then once you inherit it, you're supposed to be set up with a specific set of tools which will then enhance your whatever view that was inherited into. So what's the current status? It's currently managed by this working group, but this summer our systems team will revise and replace elements of the working group after adopting the recommendations for best practices for managing it. It is stored in GitHub, sort of. Ali posted a screenshot to it. The reason why I say sort of, the central package work is spread over a large team, and the GitHub isn't always updated. That is to say, though, when we reach reach MVP with whatever central package model we want, the GitHub will obviously reflect our current state. Only one school right now in the Alliance is live with the new UI. That's Washington State University, and they went live in May. The rest are migrating this summer, with some schools waiting until winter, and that's mostly due to staff issues. So unfortunately, we don't have any assessment data yet on adoption or use of the central package, but we hope to share that soon. So what are some of the customizations we have? The first customization I wanted to show was this resource type icon customization. So the image folder in the central package serves as an image repository, and any image in that folder with the correct file name will overwrite defaults. So we are uploaded 52 resource type icons, and these were chosen because our normalization rules allow for these specific 52 types of resources. So we found these, oh goodness gracious, Creative Commons. We found these Creative Commons licensed icons, using them with attribution. The virtue of these icons is they're high contrast. They're very obvious as to what they are. They look good. And so this customization is pretty straightforward. They're in the central package. When you're in your view, you inherit. Boom, it's done. So the framework is built so that anything in the central package with a similarly named resource will override defaults. Second customization I wanted to show real quick. If you have resource sharing libraries, you'll note that on a full record page, you're going to see the whole list of locations. And that's not really helpful to our users. It's helpful to some of our librarians, but that's not where you go to submit a resource sharing request. So it's not helpful to see a list of that. So what we did is we developed a simple toggle to hide or show, as well as presets to automatically hide or show based on whatever settings you set in your local package. So how that works. Our full function is defined and loaded into the central package, as Ali said. The central package, one of the virtues is that it could act as a code repository. So any functions you define in the central package can be called and modified by any code in your local package. So if a view inherits the central package and includes this line of JavaScript in their central local package custom.js file, it'll then automatically collapse this list of resource sharing libraries. As well as our add custom action. Ali demonstrated this a little bit ago. Again, the functions defined in the central package, your local custom.js file will include this array of attributes. So what's some issues with it? This isn't really live yet. In fact, since I'm speaking to the global community, if anyone can figure out or has figured out the reordering process, I would, oh my gosh, I'll mail you a Powell's gift card. Because that's sort of what we're working with right now. We also have an issue with text wrapping. So you'll note that in that screenshot, the reporter problem was sort of done with the informal line break. So not the most responsive design, but it worked for what it was. But we're looking to see how we can make it so that users can add any number of information to that action icon and have it display correctly. And that's actually all I have to share with you today.
Thanks, Dan. So now we're going to transition to user-submitted questions that have come through in the last few weeks. I've got Noam Amit, who will be talking with about questions that users have submitted, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of what some of the pain points are, as well as what some of the solutions to these might be. The first one is the perennial question of where's the best place to actually submit when you find something that's either a bug or an issue with the new UI. People have asked whether you submit via the listserv, via Salesforce, Slack, GitHub. Where's the best place to actually submit things when you find that there's a problem? No?
If it's, well, hi everyone, first of all. Good to hear you again. I think, generally speaking, if you discover bugs in the actual package mechanism, then of course Salesforce is the place. But since sometimes there are questions of how to implement certain functionality, that's not really appropriate for Salesforce, I guess. And I don't have whatever works, I guess. But now that we're kind of establishing this Q&A session, I think we can in time choose the platform that works best for us all. I don't have really if it's issues with the application, of course Salesforce. If it's problems with the development environment, we do scan the GitHub repositories. And my colleague Shaul is now doing that on a monthly basis. So and if you post it on GitHub, then other members of the community can offer their fixes. So it's really I think optimal for that. I wouldn't give up on any of these channels, but of course, if it's bugs, then in GitHub and Salesforce. If it's just ideas and questions, then the listserv and Slack would be best. I'm looking at the listserv all the time. I'm not answering anything that I see that the community is actually answering itself.
And with that, I just want to give a shout out to Jeff Peterson and Gabrielle, who are two guys that just seem to be answering a heck of a lot of questions around the new UI, as well as Mehmet. Mehmet's kind of always around. Some phenomenal answers to some of the questions that people are posting as the new UI is kind of being dealt with throughout the summer. The next question actually is from Gabrielle. Currently, the brief results list in Primo has the facets and the results as separate elements producing their own scroll bar. This is sometimes confusing in terms of usability, and they've had troubles with that several times. There's a suggestion to remove the stickiness from the facets, and as soon as the user scrolls past them, add a button with a text like "Refine your results." Clicking said button would bring the user back to the top of the results page so that they could use the facets. Noam, I'm just wondering, have you guys experienced similar issues with the with the scroll bars, the double scrolling? And kind of, what are your thoughts in terms of the direction of the Primo UI?
It's really good feedback because it's not easy to maintain those duplicate scroll bars, and sometimes the simpler solution in this case, if the need will rise and we see the feedback for that continuing to grow, that we need to make a change there, then I think it's good feedback for us to adopt, and we'll be happy to fix any usability problems, and this is one that we're definitely gonna think about and consider.
Okay. jQuery.
Yeah.
What do we do about jQuery? Is it possible to use jQuery in the new UI? And if, what are our options?
Well, there's no easy answer here, because although it might be possible, and I'm sure it is in some way, in some hacky way to do that, I am not totally aware of any good reason to actually use it. That is, Angular does include jQuery Lite in it, so you can use that. It doesn't have all the fancy selectors, but if jQuery has like two features I can think that are relevant for Primo, it's manipulating the DOM easily using the selectors and functions is one of them, and the whole idea of the Open Discovery Framework and Angular as being a single-page application really does not sit well with jQuery, because there are no events to plug into. There's no page load event. You can just change stuff with selectors. So I'm not really sure what is the need. So I'll have to understand that first. And we really do not recommend it. The whole concept of Angular and jQuery does not seem to sit well. But again, if there's an actual need here, then we will consider it. But I'll have to understand the need before I can go into that.
So then really what you're saying is you're looking for user stories.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure that they can be achieved, implemented better without jQuery. Or at least it's not worth the performance degradation that jQuery will bring with it.
One thing that I'd also like to add, I've had conversations with folks at StackMap who are looking at building Angular directives for their functionality rather than relying on jQuery. And they've been very supportive in actually writing some of the code themselves rather than so they're looking at this as an integration issue that they can and should develop around. So I would recommend that if you have vendors that you're trying to bring in different types of data from, ask them if they don't necessarily have to rely on jQuery to do it. SpringShare is another one that comes to mind that we've begun having some conversations with to try to leverage Angular instead of relying so much on jQuery. Karina Basilisk Baksic, I always mispronounce her name, has a question about adding additional pages in the HTML directory. And Jeff Peterson had talked about Router UI as a possible way of inheriting the CSS and some of the directives and within these HTML pages. Noam, I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I just had a chat with David from the development team who did the all static pages directive, and Jeff actually kind of understood the direction he was going to. So he certainly meant for in the future for such implementations to occur, where you can create new states leading to your own templates. We do want to. We don't have like the complete picture of what static HTML your customers would like to add, so we will appreciate some feedback there. So there's a mechanism that we intended for that. Jeff kind of understood it, and that's the direction. So it's not a bad idea to use it as he proposed in Slack. And we sure would like some feedback as to what other pages do you want us to support in the way we support the homepage. If you have any feedback, we appreciate it.
And
yeah.
just to kind of add that, and feel free to post those use cases in either Slack or in on the listserv, because these are two channels that are actually monitored by Noam and some of his team as well. We really need these use cases in order to justify this type of functionality. So if there are pages that you're actually looking to host within the Primo UI application, bring up the use cases in either of those two channels, either the listserv or in Slack, and I think we'll be able to create a dialogue around some of the needs to do some of this. Another question is about a direct link to login or force a login for a person using a particular directive.
Yeah. Well, it has been answered, I think, but there is a way we support for that. How can I like post an example here? Maybe I'll. No, that's not the way. If I add something on the group chat, is everybody seeing that?
Hold on just a second. I'll actually post it into the slide.
Okay. So, coming to think about it, it won't actually work on your computer because it's an internal environment. But if I share my screen,
hold on just a second. Okay. So you can share your screen, yeah.
Yeah, you can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you can see here the structure is the login state here with the vid parameter, then adding a target URL in this syntax with another state inside the new UI. In this case, the favorites will take us to the ES login page where you can sign in and then you're signed in and deep linked into the actual target URL you wanted. So I think that was the desired functionality. So,
yeah. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to post these slides. You can see the syntax for the URL there. Google Analytics. How would you handle other analytics platforms besides Primo Analytics for the new UI, particularly since the application is a single page application?
I don't have any recommendation regarding external analytics tool, but the direction we are, and I guess the problem is mainly for not hosted customers. Hosted customers has the Primo Analytics they can use, but so the direction we're thinking of and we're pushing forward is allowing the local customers to use the Primo Analytics or the OBI. So because working from outside, whether it's from the Open Discovery or with other tools, it will never have the complete control that we have firing out events of every click and so on. It will be always more difficult. So we implement our own analytics, and the direction is to allow as much as customers as possible to enjoy it, rather than using external analytic tools.
So are you suggesting then that OBI will be available then to locally hosted customers?
That's the direction. I'm not really set up on dates and availability, but that's we're pushing to that solution. Yeah.
Okay.
We're working on it.
And then the next question is about whether if there's a library available for taking XML from external services and converting to JSON.
It's not. Yes, but it's not anything that we actually wrote or something. But we use the Google JSON library, and we find it nice and easy. I just posted the GitHub repository URL in the chat. So that's our recommendation. Of course, there are probably tools, maybe even better tools available, but that's what we use.
And then we have a couple questions coming in from Slack. One question is, are there plans to add a My Library account option that isn't behind the sign-in? There's an icon for search history, and that's a lot less important than quick and easy access to my account.
This is another example of great feedback that made us start to change things. But there's definitely some rethinking about the whole user area. We started by removing the kind of annoying hover effect in the May release, but we're working with our designer to find a better solution, including a more an easier way to access the My Library link. I know Cambridge has moved the probably some other institution as well has moved out of the current user area menu, so that's definitely something we're considering and changing. Those changes are a bit frightening as to how will existing customization work once we change the structure there. So we'll have to figure out how to communicate that. But that's the direction to do it differently, and we are working on it.
Okay. And then another question is about how can we inject new functionality into a component that's defined in the central package? For example, if we have a component bound to PRM full view after in the central package, how could we add or remove behavior to the full view in our view package inheriting from the central package? So in essence, what they want to do is override the behavior that has been pushed from the central package.
Um,
And this is actually,
I guess there are several ways, but yeah, yes, Alan, I'm sorry.
no, I was going to say, if Dan and Ali can actually unmute themselves, I'm curious from kind of the centrally managed perspective, is this a desirable behavior or not? Because on the one hand, is the central package something that is just inherited that could be rewritten at the local level, or is that something that from a central perspective they want to encourage? So I'm sorry, no, your thoughts?
I'm just wondering now if it's basically doing trying to achieve the same behavior that we externalize in the after directives, but now just I'm not sure it will work. I'm just thinking about it now. But if I implement in the central package a directive, and in the template I will write my own HTML, and at the end I will just add an empty directive, just let's say PRM full view after with an attribute of the parent controller equals $CTRL, and then that way allowing the again the view package to implement that placeholder directive and choose whether it wants to hide my central directive or not, but giving it the entire model and functions of my directive. It should work. I'm not sure, but I guess overriding is not really a problem. I mean, you can redefine the same directive. It will give you console errors, but I think the second directive will overcome the first one and will be the one displayed. But extending that's well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I have to give it some thought, but it's for sure possible. We'll have to think about the best practice for this.
And then the final question is about, and maybe this is a question for the product working group to think about, is documenting all of this code and other types of fixes and or actions that are possible. You know, as far as where this should live, where this customer generated or customer generated code or other types of things should actually live. And this has been something that I think is a struggle, because so much of it is actually going on right now, kind of live within Slack or within the listserv. Maybe it's something to actually think about, or I'd be interested within Slack if people had an idea about it. Where's the best place to kind of institutionalize some of these best practices? Is it within some of the Primo documentation? Are there other places to have this? But I would be very interested to hear people's feedback, particularly people who are participating in in their own institution's new UI development. The question is, are you looking at other institutions' examples or code and either borrowing them or incorporating them into your own design? And if so, how are you doing that? I think it's something that the working group can provide or hopefully actually the working group can provide a framework that we can share this knowledge in. So I don't necessarily see any other questions that are coming in from the YouTube channel or coming in from Slack. I want to thank our presenters, Dan, as well as Ali and Noam, for presenting the work that's happening at their institution. If you have any other questions, take a look for us at the July event. Now, just remember that the July event is actually going to try to accommodate Australian time, so it may be later on in the evening, so that those participants can actually have the advantage that we have over here on the East Coast, as well as in Europe, of seeing this while they're actually at work. Anyway, thanks everyone for participating, and I really appreciate the time. Thank you.